And a big welcome to everybody listening in on Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas. Talk 1490 WIRB in Southern Alabama, the Florida Panhandle. Big hello to our friends on WDJY in the greater Atlanta metro market and everybody else on our CBS, NBC, and Fox sports affiliates from coast to coast, YouTube, Facebook, and geez, how about hotel television? 650,000 rooms from coast to coast. Thanks for joining us today with a very special guest right from the top. We have a special co-pilot, and let's let him introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Craig Bartock. I am the lead guitar player, producer, songwriter for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band Heart. And you probably know us from... Well, younger people probably know us from all the stuff that ends up in movies these days and TV commercials and all that. And older folks know us from the radio and especially from MTV.
That's right. And a lot of people grew up with Heart's music. And when you end up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, something tells me, Craig, you probably did something right and for a very long time.
You know, the whole Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is an interesting thing. It's like, you know, I mean, me being a fan of music and rock music like everybody else, it's just sometimes you kind of shake your head and you just go, wait a minute, these people aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and these people are, and you don't kind of understand it, but you know, it was fun to do the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and look out and see Jack Nicholson sitting 10 feet in front of me, giving me like a stare with his glasses on while I'm playing Barracuda. It's kind of a vision I'll never forget.
Right. Did he give you that look from The Shining, here's Johnny?
No, he kind of, you know, it's kind of like he always has a I'm sizing you up look. And, you know, and it's Barracuda. How can you size up Barracuda? Everybody knows it, loves it.
Everybody knows it. I mean, who doesn't like it as well? I mean, that famous riff, boy, I'd like for you to pick that guitar up and start playing it. That'd be fantastic. That's the one thing I think that I could probably play. My guitars are not in our mobile bubble that we have for AAMPtv, but it is something that I can play. It's one of the very few things that I don't destroy.
Yeah, you know, and while talking about Barracuda, it's funny because it sounds like it's a deceptively simple song. And back in those days, Ann and Nancy, you know, they were getting some cues from bands like Yes, and everybody was putting in odd times and odd measures in their songs and trying to make things a little more difficult for the cover band who's playing at the dances or playing at a nightclub and trying to duplicate it. And that song is certainly no exception. It's got some interesting little quirks and some time signatures in it that if you're just an average listener, it may just kind of go by. But as a musician, you do notice, you go, wait a minute, there's an extra beat there. There's it's not in a 4/4 time. There's an extra measure here. This kind of does this and this kind of cuts off here. And so, you know, it's one of those songs that you sort of don't really think about the mechanics of it. You just feel it, you know, and at first when I was playing it, I would just listen to Ann's voice and just kind of cue off of that.
You know, what's interesting is nowadays, and look, I learned how to play guitar when I was just a little kid and, well, I'm not 21 years of age, right? So we had to learn how to read music and do the right thing. And nowadays, talking to a lot of the people that come on from the music world, they learn by ear. They don't, I mean, it's almost as if they are music illiterate. They don't read music traditionally as one would be taught to read music. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, and I we can talk about this a little bit later, but right now, I'm offering. I came up with this concept of musicality, and it actually is exactly what you're talking about, because you get you get students and musicians who come from like Berklee School of Music, or they come from the Guitar Institute, and you walk out and you learn all of your scales, you learn the music theory, but you don't necessarily learn, at the end of the day, a very small percentage of what you learn you're actually going to use. And the best way to learn music is the way that Ann and Nancy and and many of my friends did, like the guys in Cheap Trick. And, and that's when you're a kid, you pick up a guitar and you start a band and you just start learning songs and you play locally and you get that experience, as opposed to sitting in your room and practicing scales. And to me, that's not music. Music is meant to be shared. It's meant to be enjoyed. And so oftentimes people get into the weeds of what music really is with theory and everything like that. It stops being fun. It becomes math. Music is not math. It's a form of expression and a form of enjoyment.
Folks, we're here with Craig Bartok, lead guitarist from Heart. And he's done a whole bunch of other things as well. Oh, by the way here, Craig, so I pulled this off of the website just to give everybody else a little bit of extra background. We're going to jump right back into this, but it says right here, Craig is a music industry veteran with numerous credits in records, live work, TV, and animation scores. He's a long-standing member of the Rock&Roll Hall of Fame band Heart, having produced, written several songs they've recorded, as well as being a lead guitarist. Other writings, producing, playing credits include Blondie, Seal, Simply Red, Alien AJ, Madonna, etc., etc., Nikki Sixx, and on we go. TV scoring credits include shows like The Carrie Diaries, Dexter, Burn Notice, Brothers and Sisters, and numerous MTV shows. Also appeared on several TV shows such as Ellen, Conan, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, Dancing with the Stars. I want to get into that one in just a minute.
Oh, yeah.
And the L Word. Right. And so go back to all this experience and go back to your very beginning when you started playing guitar. Did you learn the math of it? Did you learn like you were saying, the sheet music side of it? Because that's how I had to actually learn a little bit of music myself. And folks, in case you're wondering why we're talking about this, guess what? We have competition and everything, including music. And when you're at those sporting events and there's a TV timeout or something, guess what's played over the loudspeaker? Craig's music. That's exactly what's being played. All right, so go back to the sheet music side real quick. And the idea of literacy in music.
Mm-hmm. It is fascinating. I mean, when I was 8 years old, I was just one of those kids that like music was everything to me. As a matter of fact, I would rarely go out and play. I would sit in my bedroom and play records. I had a little record player, and I would sit and play music over and over and over again. As much to my mom's dismay about me getting out and getting some fresh air and playing with the neighborhood kids. And I got my first guitar, which was a very inexpensive one. I think I was about 8 years old. I got it for my 8th birthday. It was a very inexpensive 3/4 scale sort of Western acoustic guitar. And it came with like 10 complimentary guitar lessons. And, I would just, it comes with pretty much, this book is still the sort of the gold standard today because people talk to me about it. It came with the Mel Bay Big Guitar book, a big guitar chord book. It's a big book that has all your basic, chords, your D, G, C, E, all the folk basic chords. It has them written down and where to put your hand and how to play them. That book is still as popular today as it was, in 19 when I got it. I just played that acoustic guitar, and then I really, really wanted an electric guitar. So back in those days, you could get an electric guitar pretty much anywhere. You could go to Sears and get an electric guitar. every department store sold electric guitars, and they were rather inexpensive. They would be like $80, $100. And I talked my mom into getting me an electric guitar, and I started my first band when I was in sixth grade. I was 12, and we entered a talent show, and and so everything for me was just like starting bands and finding people in the school that were like-minded, and people that had guitars, and people that wanted to perform and wanted to play, Beatle music and Stones music and that type of thing.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I remember getting my first guitar, but I was a lot older. But the first time I picked one up, it was in grade school, back when I think I was in fourth grade, and we got those basic guitars, what you're talking about. Sure. But just hearing the rock and roll music on the radio and trying to somehow conceive in my brain that I could be a rock star someday like yourself, it was so beyond imagination. But here I find myself, talking with yourself, and look, we've had people just like people like yourself in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on, and I'll tell you what, it's fun because we get the stories, the backstories. Tell you what, we're going to pick up on the story with Craig Bartok from Heart, lead guitarist, in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on The Circus.